Hello there and welcome. In this video I got you 10 tips and tricks for the best Pyromancer builds in Soulstone Survivors. We're going to go over all the ins and outs of this character class, and I'm going to introduce a couple of builds that you can run with the various weapons that you got. We will start with number 1. What keywords are we working with here? Obviously, the Pyromancer is a mage, and therefore the keyword magical is behind basically all of your attacks. This is pretty good, because that means powering them up is quite easy. We also have a very obvious bias towards fire. We have 3 different skills that are only available for our character class, including a very powerful finisher for burn stacks. Also, we have a bias towards either area effects or frontal effects or aura effects. These 3 things also come up quite often in our repertoire and should be considered when you concoct your builds around that. There's certainly a couple of other keywords in between, but these are the biggest common denominators in this order. Number 2. What kind of buffs do we have available? So for the Pyromancer, we don't have too many abilities that grant us directly buffs as we had it with other character classes before. The Fire Slash on this weapon gives you haste, is basically though the only skill that gives you that. We also have Arcane Power, which gives you multicast. Very available for us, very powerful at the same time. We also got Bloodlust, which gives you even more cast frequency and plays also quite nicely into anything that you want to summon. You also have access to Aptitude via the Shadow Boat spell, which gives you more critical damage, but these are all pretty much outliers. The biggest things that I have noticed are Arcane Power, Bloodlust, and Lightning Surge, boosting your movement speed quite substantially and your critical chance, because when all of your spells inflict critical chance, you have a very, very heightened critical chance, basically. That's the gist of it. So these are the buffs that you have available for this character class. When it comes down to number 3, the debuffs, though, we are having a much wider array of things available for ourselves. First up, Burn is very, very powerful damage over time. For one, it inflicts quite nice amounts of damage. The other thing is we have Meteor Shower, detonating harder the more burn stacks we got, and we got access to spells inflicting weakness, increasing the damage over time effects even further. We also have access to Doom damage, which is also a staple damage over time effect. So overall, damage over time effects are something we also have really good access to. But it doesn't stop there. We also have Arcane, therefore Brittle and Fragility are in our roster. We also have a really, really nice side thing here, and that is Disarray. Disarray originates from Chaos. Whenever you buy a Chaos skill, you will get yourself the option to unlock Disarray. Disarray is a very powerful damage enhancing debuff with a random chance to decrease your damage, but honestly you won't be noticing that. At the end of the day, I want to note here, Chaos is a very, very interesting element, which I should have noticed, which I should have mentioned in the previous bullet point before. It is sort of a multicast buff, as it fires off another spell of your skill bar whenever you fire off a chaotic spell, but the Disarray is the much bigger cherry, in my opinion, for each build, because Disarray really cranks up your damage numbers to hilarious amounts. In my opinion, at least, I had really massive experiences with that. So, number 4, what's the Ascension Skill looking like? So the Pyromancer's Ascension Skill is even more damage. When we are not getting hit, we will eventually gain enough focus to fire out a new damaging ability that inflicts even more burn to the enemy. So we have a very, very high bias towards burn, but also a very high need to avoid damage in general, because our Ascension Skill's energy will deplete whenever we get hit, or it depletes faster when we get hit. I should point it out like that. The benefit of this Ascension Skill is that if you can avoid enemy attacks, you dish out even more damage very reliable on no other condition rather than not getting hit. And isn't that something that we are aiming for anyways? Unless you're building a tank, but that's a different story. So, which brings me to number 5. Your character is quite vulnerable to begin with. You are suffering from a lower maximum health and, to add insult to injury, lower armor power. So you are not only breaking faster, you're also taking more damage than other classes by getting whacked. So this is really something you need to work against, and you have to take into account for your builds, because as you see there, we have one weapon that gives us a little bit of extra maximum health, but this is about it. You need to facilitate your upgrades to cover these weaknesses to some degree. I like to add in HP and just ignore these low penalties to begin with. Same with armor. The longer the run goes, the more it is really just worth to take the rare and epic or uncommon ones, when it comes down to health at least. Armor, I only take the rare ones, but you get the idea. So, which brings me to number 6. In its quintessence, the Pyromancer is a classic glass cannon character, because you have all skills loaded to the gills with damage. We have all the different variants that we want to play: damage over time, crit, a really interesting chaos chain hit thing with disarray, and doom, which all mingle and mix together quite nicely. But in all honesty, due to the fact that Meteor Shower has a very, very powerful execute effect, you really thrive in burn. But altogether, you deal a lot of damage while breaking fast. That's just what this character is, in my opinion, all about. It's very hard to make the Pyromancer sturdy, but it's very easy to make the Pyromancer kill everything on sight quite quickly. So let's move on over to number 7. Let's talk about a couple of example builds. The fire build that I want to introduce focuses around this weapon. So you have burn on this one and a fiery trail while walking around. These skills can be totally exchanged for the fire portion of your build if you want to. I just would not recommend to swap away Fire Slash, because haste is really, really nice, and having a steady supply of that doesn't hurt at all. Firewalk, I'm not that much of a big fan of that, in all honesty. So I personally like to mix my fire builds with Doom, because damage over time plus damage over time is a really, really nice thing, but it also goes darned well with Arcane's Brittle and Fragility or Chaos's Disarray stacks. Every flavor will work. It's a very simple logic. Just don't miss out on the Meteor Showers execute on the burn stacks. You can even go mono fire and it works out damn nicely. So, what you want upgrade-wise, and this is true for all the forthcoming builds, that's why I want to say it only once, area of effect is very desirable for any build. Multicast obviously does just more of the same. It's just not so interesting for Aura's build, but that's about it. Unless Aura's can be multicast and I don't know about it, dear comment section, enlighten me if I'm wrong here. And obviously damage over time upgrades. Whenever you can get percentile upgrades for fire damage, the ones that make your fire damage tick faster, all of these are stupidly powerful and should be taken. And if you play with Doom, same rules apply. Moving on over to number 8, a lightning build. So the Pyromancer's lightning variant is insofar very interesting as you get a skill that can be ultimately expanded into a screen-wide daze spreading field, which is pretty nice. We also get a detonating skill that inflicts damage based on the amount of daze stacks. I like this because the Pyromancer's base lightning skills already interact very synergistic with each other. You can now decide to either go mono lightning, take lightning bolt and all the other tasty lightning spells that you have at your disposal and just nuke them, or you can also mix in arcane for the damage amplifiers or chaos. It all works quite nicely, and you just need to take care of a higher crit rate. Just crit rate and crit damage. These things do so well for this build, and it's a bit different than with the other builds because you have such a high synergy with crits due to Lightning Bolt's devastating trait. It deals triple the amount of damage on critical strikes, and this means, yeah, this thing can hit like a truck. Now, number 9, a Chaos build, which is coming off the 3rd weapon. So, we here have a Ray inflicting Disarray, which is amazing because this is a quite rare thing as an active skill, and we have a Burn Detonator as in form of the Chaos Eruption skill. So we are very much shoehorned with the Chaos variant, if you play it with this weapon, towards Burn, because it is just that powerful. Plays damn nicely with Meteor Shower, and Chaos Bolt is a very, very good one, because I personally like its projectile nature. But either way you mix it, put in some sources of burn damage extra and watch them explode. Disarray is available for this build by nature and will make, in combination with weakness stacks, take weakness plus Disarray, and it is really, really amazing what kind of damage amounts you can get out there. And number 10, a Doom-centric build. So here I was personally a little bit disappointed because the skill here, the Dark Swarm, is pretty practical and it gives disoriented onto the enemy, which increases the critical damage, but altogether it does not have that much of a high synergy like the lightning skill. On a Doom-centric build here, the interesting thing is we can play crit-centric, so the amusing part though is add in anything but lightning, because I did feel like lightning and Doom did not really synergize well. Doom and Fire go well, Doom and Arcane go well because we can increase the amount of damage, but yeah, I didn't like this Doom version too much. I felt like other classes can fill that niche better. Maybe I'm overlooking something about this particular combo here. Might be the case. Let me know if you know. That all being said, I hope that I was able to help you out with this character class a little bit. My verdict here is the hardest part is to stay alive. Killing the enemy is not really that much of a big issue, but you're melting really quickly. Therefore, every run that you can get some nice sturdiness on top of your destructive powers is really more successful. At least it's been my experience like that. Share your experiences, let me know what you think, if you have other ideas, other concepts, or if you just want to talk about ideas. I'm all ears and love to hear your comments. Leave a like, leave a subscribe, consider donating to the channel, consider also supporting in any given ways and means. I deeply appreciate all the help that I get, and I also want to say thanks for watching this video. I hope it was helpful for you. Thanks so much for your time, and see you on the next one.